Good to go.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's annual town meeting. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Mr. Mayor, I've had apologies from Councillor J. Fradgley, Councillor Foytick and Councillor Warren Howells.
And Councillor Wall.
Councillor Wall.
Oh yes, sorry, and Councillor Wall.
Yeah. Thank you. For everybody watching who might not be familiar with all of the councillors, I'm going to start by just going round the room and just asking everybody just to introduce themselves and which ward they represent. I'll do that by the order of my screen, but I'll start. I'm Councillor Tony Jackson and I represent Guildhall. Councillor Alcock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my name's Victoria Alcock. I represent Bishopton Ward.
Councillor Rolfe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Councillor Kate Rolfe and I represent Tiddington Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Dowling.
I'm Councillor Bill Dowling and I represent Hathaway Ward. Or Shottery, no, Shottery Ward, I can't remember.
Councillor Lee.
Mute.
You're on mute.
Classic. Yeah, Councillor Toby Lee and I represent Hathaway Ward.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I'm Shottery, definitely.
Thank you. Councillor Coles.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Councillor Liz Coles and I represent Welcome Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Cleeve.
I'm Jill Cleeve and I represent Hathaway Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Kevin Taylor and I represent Welcome Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Howe.
I am Councillor Philip Howe and I represent Clopton Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Voss.
Richard Voss and I represent Avenue Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Fradgley.
Ian Fradgley representing Bridgetown Ward.
And finally, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Councillor David Curtis, and alongside my colleague Councillor Dowling, when he can remember which ward it is, we both represent Shottery Ward.
Thank you. Right, the first item on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the annual town meeting held on the 5th of March 2020. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Dowling, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Cleeve, thank you. Can we all vote using hands, real hands, to accept the minutes as a true record?
Thank you, that's unanimous.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda. Are there any matters arising from last year's meeting? No. Item number 3 is to receive the annual return for the year ended 31st of March 2020. Phil, Deputy Town Clerk, do you want to say a few words before we accept these minutes or accept the notes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was really just to say that councillors will have seen there were some manual amendments again to the annual return requested by the external auditors. This was to do with the fact that some of the long-term investments matured and were immediately reinvested, but they just wanted that reflected differently, showing us receipts and returns, receipts and payments, but it had no impact on the overall figures or the net figures reported in the return. Just to confirm again that there was a deficit last year, but it was less than had been budgeted, primarily because of the delays to the expenditure on the town hall maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just check, Madam Town Clerk, that this report, that the finance figures are just to be noted? We don't need to vote and approve, just for noting.
To note, yes, thank you.
Just a note. Thank you. Item number 4. Have we got any parochial matters raised by electors that wish to be raised at this meeting? Has anybody received anything that wants to be raised, needs to be raised? No. In which case that concludes this evening's annual town meeting. Can I thank you all for watching, and the next meeting will be obviously in 12 months time sometime, and we'll notify everybody in due course.